Hello students, this is Veena, Assistant Professor in the Department of English, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. Today, we will try to learn about the verbal and non-verbal communication. What is the difference between the verbal and the non-verbal communication? What are the needs that are going to be catered through these communication skills? Both of them are equally important and both of them play vital role in making your communication skills more and more effective and better. But one has to understand the relevance of using the verbal communication and the non-verbal communication according to the situation, time and the space. How effective you are in using your verbal communication? How is that you are going to make your verbal, that is the oral communication, effective? And also, how is that you are going to make yourself utilize the non-verbal communication, which will also cater to the needs of your communication skill and also make you stand unique among the workspace. Now, we will try to very clearly understand the differences and very clearly understand the very important characteristics and elements which are involved in the verbal and as well as non-verbal communication. Let us get started. Here, first try to understand the definition, the proper definition of verbal and non-verbal communication. Before that, our communication skills are influenced by the culture we have been socialized with. Whatever environment we are equipped with, wherever we have been grown up with, that means the habitat where we have got habituated with will be dominating our communication ability. That is the culture in which we have grown up, in the culture where we are attained and where we are being for years. So, our communication also depends on that particular area, environment, and it completely is affected by the culture and the tradition. Maybe it is completely positive or it can be in another way negative. Whatever it may be, the environment, the atmosphere, the culture, wherever we have grown up will have an impact over our communication. They are strongly affected by persons, values, beliefs and attitudes. I want you all to remember these three terms: values, beliefs and attitudes. We all have certain values. Our family culture, our tradition, our environment and our place where we are belong to will surely make us equipped with certain values, certain kind of behavioral traits within us. So, the communication sometimes needs to overcome it. Of course, when we are trying to learn a new language, we have the tend of to use our mother tongue influence or to try to equip with that atmospheric note to this particular language. Maybe it is positive, maybe it is negative in some areas. But however, our communication is going to be having all these traits of values, beliefs and attitudes. Now, how is that you are going to project your communication, your transfer of information while having respect towards your values, your traditions, your culture, your environment and your place? It should not be dominated. Your communication should not lead you or move you afar from your cultures and tradition. Remember, wherever you go, it is very, very good that you are getting equipped with that culture. It is very, very good that you are learning new culture, new trends, new languages. But you should have that essence. You should have that quality which is inbuilt in you since years. That is those values, those cultures, those behavioral traits which you have received from your space, your people and your family. So, always see that communication will completely cater the needs and portray your values and beliefs while you're talking to others. You should be very respectful. You must be very generous. You must be able to please and appeal to people. You must be formal enough whenever it is needed. You must be informal enough when you're talking to your friends and your colleagues, whoever are very, very close to you. Verbal communication consists of getting your message across using sounds, words and languages. Now, what is verbal communication? It is making you come across those words, the languages and sounds. Verbal communication can also be called as the oral communication, what we speak, how we talk to others, while non-verbal communication involves unsaid things like your eye movements, your body movements, your gestures. That is, here we are not using any kind of words. Here we are not using any kind of language. But still, we are able to communicate with others through the way of our eye contact, through the way of our body language, through the way of our gestures. So, on a very brief note, the verbal communication is the communication which happens with the usage of the words and the language. And non-verbal communication, it happens with the body language, body movements, the gestures and the eye contact. So, therefore, let us try to understand them in more detail. Now, verbal communication. It is a type of oral communication wherein the message is transmitted through the spoken words. That is, whatever we are talking to our friends, whenever we are communicating with our friends, we use certain sounds, certain words, certain language such that they understand what we are trying to render to them, what we are trying to provide the information, or in what way we are going to express our concern is noted through the words, through the languages and through a kind of language. So therefore it is transmitted with the use of words, with the use of languages and sounds. That is called is your verbal communication, which can be done orally. When you talk to others is your verbal communication. Here the sender gives words to his or her feelings. How do we do our verbal communication? We talk about ourselves, our feelings, our emotions, our thoughts, our ideas. So, the sender who is rendering the message will express his own ideas, his own beliefs to the other person in the way of communicating and developing his relationship with the other person. That is the trait of your verbal communication. Thoughts, ideas and opinions and expresses them in the form of speeches, discussions, presentations and conversation. So, this communication, verbal communication can happen in the way of conversations, in the way of discussions, in the way of presentations and in the way of conversation. So, we have many methods of conversing with others. But the sole criteria is to develop the rapport using a language and words and to transmit a information or provide some order, provide some information to the other person and let them know what you are feeling through your thoughts, your beliefs, your expressions. So that is your verbal communication. The effectiveness of the verbal communication depends on the tone of the speaker, how one is talking to the other. The tone, the modulation, how is that you are talking to the other person is very, very important. The way you talk to others project your personality. The way you talk to others project your behavior towards them. So, try to make your tone replicate your personality. For that, you have to train yourself to talk to others in a very good and formal way. Until unless it is needed, you cannot be informal until unless they are very, very close to you. Especially when it comes to your professional spaces, try to be very formal, brief and accurate over the feelings or over the information what you are talking to or expressing it to the other person. So your tone of expression while speaking will project your personality. Then clarity of speech. You must have that clarity in your speech. You must know first what is that you're going to provide the information. How is that you're going to provide the information? What is the way that you're going to frame your sentences or structure your sentences such that the opposite person who is listening to you is going to understand you. So there must be clarity of speech, which is very, very essential in any kind of communication. Next, volume, the voice level, the range of level. Whenever it is needed, you must be able to talk it with a high volume. Whenever it is not needed, you must be able to talk it in a low volume. You must be able to make your volume equipped and cater the need of that particular situation and time. If you are giving a speech in an auditorium, it is very essential to make your volume high such that everyone, all the audience can hear you. But if you're talking to a one-to-one person, if you're talking to a person in person, you don't need to raise your volume. You can just talk very slowly on a low volume. So clarity of speech, the way you train your tone, and also the volume range what you maintain in your verbal communication is very, very important. Then comes speed. How accurate and how speed. Are you talking in a very fast-paced way? Is it that others are able to understand you, or you are talking in a very low way, low pace? So try to make yourself maintain certain speed. Don't go on, just go blabber and say something such that others don't understand. Your criteria is that others must be able to understand your conversation. If you vary speed, how will they able to understand? So try to lower your tone. Try to see that your pitch, the range of your speed match with the audience intention, audience understanding. So that is very important. Then comes body language. How is that you're going to present your body language in front of your audience while speaking? How is that your body too conveys the message which you are talking to the others? So these are all very, very important aspects when you are doing the verbal communication. Clarity, the tone, and you must be a very, very good adherent speaker who understands the correct pitch, volume and the speed of the time where the situation demands you to mold yourself. So being a communicator is not at all an easy task. Being a good communicator takes lots of practice. You cannot just say that I can talk, I can say anything in front of anyone. No. Train yourself such that your audience are pleased towards you. They are appealed towards you. They trust you and they get that comfort zone from you when you're talking to them. So that is very, very important. And the quality of words used in the conversation. Of course, it is the quality of the words which plays vital role in your conversation. What is the vocabulary you have chose to make yourself expressive towards the others? How is that you're going to express your thoughts, ideas by putting up certain words which are very, very essential and which denote the particular meaning which is really essential for that moment of time. To see that you use proper, accurate words. See that you're using those meaningful words which truly renders the same meaning which you are aspiring the other person to know. So these are all very, very important elements which you have to remember while you are doing the verbal communication. Then, in the case of verbal communication, the feedback, just remember this word, the feedback is immediate, since there are simultaneous transmission and receipt of the message by the sender and the receiver respectively. So, when you are doing verbal communication, the feedback, that is, the response is immediate. If you are having a one-to-one conversation, if you are talking to the other person, when you are rendering a message to him, obviously he will try to understand it and respond back to you immediately. Isn't it? He will respond to you immediately. If you understand, he says, I have understood this and this is the thing what I have got from your speech. Or if he has not understood, he may ask you some questions for clarification, or he may take some time and ask you to give some time to understand and revert back to you. But however, the response is immediate in verbal communication. Then, the success of verbal communication depends not only on the speaking ability of an individual, but also on the listening skill. Here, you cannot just say that I spoke what was needed for the seminar and the need is catered. You cannot say that, because however efficiently you spoke on the stage, however impactful your speech was, it will be successful only when the audience have heard it properly, listened to you properly, carefully. So it is vice versa. It is not just your speech is important. It is also important the others are able to listen to you with all the activeness and with all the attention towards you. Only when they listen to you, the message is delivered. Then the concept is successful and productive. So, see that you formulate your speech in such a way that the listeners get attracted to you. They become active listeners. They become critical listeners towards your speech and try to understand it, analyze it, and interpret it, and then evaluate it. So, see that your success of delivering the speech does not depend on the way you deliver it. It depends on the way the listeners understand it. So, this is the most important aspect which we all have to remember. Then comes how effectively an individual listens to the subject matter decides the effectiveness of the communication. That is what I have made it very clear, that it is only successful when your listeners are able to understand what you spoke. It is not that you spoke for hours and hours, you have made a lengthy presentation, you have explained in a high-pitched volume, and you have made so many examples. When will all that be productive? Only when the listeners have understood your way of transmitting the message. They have understood the way you want them to understand it. They have not misunderstood or misconcepted your message. So, see that whenever you are planning your verbal communication, the receiver listens it actively. He pays all the attention. For that, you have to mold your speech and attract them with the way of using the clarity and the use of vocabulary which renders the true meaning of that conversation. So, these are all very, very important characteristics which are very important. Now, let us try to understand what is the essence of non-verbal communication. How is it important and what is the concept of non-verbal communication? Here, non-verbal communication includes gestures. Just remember these terms: gestures, facial expressions, and body positions. Non-verbal communication includes gestures. Gestures are the movements of your body, how you show your fingers, how you show your hand movements, how you show your body language, all those things. Then facial expressions. What is that your face conveying the message? How is that is, okay, sometimes some people will talk, but their face will tell us something and their speech will tell us something. It is not matching, isn't it? So the facial expression. Then comes the body position. It shows the body position replicate your personality or your attitude towards that person. So be careful when you are making any kind of body posture in front of the people. It is very, very important, because the way you position your body, the way you make your facial expression, the way you make your gestures will surely be calculated. Others notice it. Verbal communication, you give speech, you talk there and you end up. But your non-verbal communication will symbolically represent your personality, your attitude, your interest and your intention towards that information what you are providing. So very, very please be careful when you are using your body language, when you are using any kind of gestures in front of others. Now let us see here. As well as unspoken understandings and presuppositions and cultural environmental conditions that may affect any encounter between people. So it is the way you, for example, there is a family function. Do you speak there? No. How is that you are representing that function? In the way of your dressing up. Okay, if you have dressed up in your traditional outfit, it is communicated to the others directly that it is some traditional function which is following the customs and tradition of your family. So the way you dressed up, the way you talk to others, the way you represent in front of others, the way you smile, the way you laugh, the way you cry, the way you express anger, all these expressions really, really matters when it comes to non-verbal communication. So not only verbal communication you have to get expertise over, but also non-verbal communication is very, very important, and it plays vital role in projecting your personality, your behavior and your attitude towards the others in your workspace. So be careful while you pose any kind of posture or while you make any kind of gesture to others. See that it does not transmit in a wrong way. It does not create any misunderstanding between the employees or the co-workers. So you have to know the importance and the significance of the non-verbal communication. You should try to adopt, you should try to make use of those proper gestures which will make you look cool and effective and also trustworthy. So therefore try to understand the proper way of non-verbal communication. Now let us see here. Non-verbal communication is the transmission of messages or signals through a non-verbal platform such as eye contact. Yes, isn't it? We are going to communicate with the way of eye contact. Then facial expressions, how you express yourself. Your mood is expressed through your face. If you are angry, how is that you are going to pose? If you are happy, how is that you are going to pose? If you are smiling, then how is that you look? So these are all depend on the facial expressions. Then comes gestures. How you make the movements of your hands or legs or the body. Gesture, in which way you are going to portray your understanding through the gestures of your body. Then comes the posture and the distance between the two individuals. That is how you are going to coordinate with the other person. The distance between two people shows the way the relation they have. If you are sitting with your mother, you sit very close to her, isn't it? Because you own her. She is my mother, so I sit very close to her. But if it is others' mother, what do? You sit a bit far from them, isn't it? Because we have that distance, we have that special formality of maintaining distance from the others. It shows, the body automatically shows the gesture that this person is not my own. This person is my own. That owning mentality can be seen through the body gesture. So, non-verbal communication speaks, gives out your expression of personality and attitude in the way of you eye contact, in the way of you express your facial feelings, in the way of you touch, in the way of you make gestures, in the way of you have the coordination with the other person, in the way of the body language. Now, let us talk about body language. What is this body language? Does body too have language? Of course, it has its own language. We must be able to understand the needs of the body and train your body such that it communicates effectively to others. Very, very important. Now, let us see what it is. Body language means conscious and unconscious movements. Sometimes we don't know what we are doing, but our body portrays it out. It gives signals in the way of communicating to others that you are fine or not fine. If, for example, you are sitting dull in your classroom, your friend comes and asks you, why are you sitting dull? What happened to you? Did you tell him? Did you make verbal conversation with him saying that you are dull? How is that he understood? With the presence of the body language. The way you sit there, the way you have given the posture made him understand that you are not well. Something wrong has happened to you. So, this is what happens unconsciously. Did you do it unconsciously that you want to sit sadly? Did you made that gesture consciously? No, unconsciously it happened. You are sad, so body automatically projected that impression of being sad. So, it has done unconsciously. Postures by which attitudes and feelings are communicated. Such behavior includes, again, facial expressions, body postures, gestures, eye movement, touch, and the use of the space. How is this body language happens? It happens with the means of the eye contact, gestures, and the posture, what you pose in front of others. So, always try to make your body look happy. Look healthy. Take care of your body. The way you project yourself, not just in the form of verbal communication, but also in the form of non-verbal communication, it projects your personality. So, train yourself in both the ways of communication. In both the way of communication will surely make you place unique among that particular group in your workspace. Body movement include gestures, postures, head and hand movements, whole body movements. They can be used to reinforce and emphasize what a person is saying and offer information about the emotions. What is that these postures or these expressions are telling? What is that you want to emphasize to others in the way of your mood, and the expression is projected in the way of body communication. Next, gestures. What does this gestures mean? Gestures, it means a movement of part of a body. When I talk, I make the movement of my hand. Isn't it? This is a gesture. That is, I am trying to explain you. This is my way of presenting the explanation. So, this is a gesture. Especially hand or the head. Hand or the head. Especially, we use our hands and the head to portray the gestures of our body. To express an idea or meaning. To explain an idea or meaning, we either use our head or our hand movements mostly. Then, emblems. What are these emblems? Emblems are the gestures that serve the same function as a word are called emblems. For example, the signals that mean okay, come here, or the hand movement used when hitchhiking. For example, come here. Just understand this. Come here. What am I doing? I am doing the same gesture of the word here. That is called emblem. The proper representation of the word through the gesture. Okay. When I say okay, I am using the gesture with my hand, same representing the word okay. Isn't it? So these are called emblems. Clear? Next, illustrators. What are illustration? Gestures which accompany words to illustrate a verbal message are known as illustrators. For example, the common circular hand movement which accompanies the phrase over and over again. For example, when I am illustrating it to you, I am going on explaining it to you over and over again. See the way I am talking to you. I am explaining it to you. I am using the gestures of my hands. I am using the way of my, I am nodding the head in the way of my transmission of the words. I am making the gestures, eye contact with you all in the way of pronunciation of my words, in the way of rendering the message. So these are all called the illustrators. Then comes the regulators. Gestures used to give feedback when conversing are called regulators. That is head nods. When somebody has asked you, can you come with me? What is that the gesture you are going to do? No. For no, you do this. For yes, you do this. Isn't it? So, when you are going to give them a feedback through your gesture, yes, no, can I come in? All these kind of gestures comes under the regulators. Next comes adapters. Adapters are non-verbal behaviors which satisfies from physical need. For example, adapters include such actions as stretching or adjusting uncomfortable glasses. For example, if I am wearing glasses, I am talking to you. What is the gesture I am doing? It is slipping down. My specs is slipping down. What do? I do this to lift my glasses. What is the gesture? I am trying to adapt to equip this physical amenity which is there. Isn't it? If I am holding my hand, I am writing it here. If it misplaced and it's fall down, I am trying to adapt it that I have not misplaced the pen or used in such a way. I am trying to adapt to this physical amenity. By using my gesture, by communicating to you, I am adapting this physical amenity which is present in my hand. So, trying to equip the action with the use of the physical things which you have here with you. Then, all represent psychological needs such as biting fingernails with nervous. I hope you have all seen it. Some students have that intention of biting their nails. Isn't it? What do they do? Whenever they are nervous, they will bite their nails. That shows the expression. How they are trying to adapt to that particular environment. They are scared. They are nervous. But still, they are trying to hide that emotion with biting the fingers. So, this is called adaptive behaviors. Trying to mold yourself, trying to adapt to certain environment such that it looks as if you are flexible and free and you are doing a communication. Then comes the posture. Posture can reflect emotions, attitudes and intention. If you are an active listener, while a speech is carried out, you will sit erect, straight, makes eye-to-eye contact to the speaker. If you are not interested, you will drop down, you will sink down. You are not interested, you will just lay your hands in the way you like, you will just lay your legs in the way you like and you just slip down in the chair. That is the posture. Your posture indicates your interest towards the other thing what is happening there. Next, Open and closed posture. Now, what is the difference between open and the closed postures? Let us try to understand. Two forms of postures have been identified. One is open and the other is closed, which may reflect an individual's degree of confidence, your attitude, your interest, your confidence is being portrayed through these postures. And we have two types of postures. Those are open and closed postures, or status and receptivity to the other person. How good do you want to listen to the other person? Now let us try to understand what is a closed posture. Closed posture, someone seated in a closed position might have his or her arms folded like this. If you are sitting like this, it is the closed posture. That is, you are attentive, active, or you are trying to make yourself look appealing and pleasing towards other person. When you are talking to a superior, you fold your hands. When you are talking to your teacher, you fold your hands. That is, you are closing your posture. You don't want to look unstable or shabby to the others. So, you are maintaining your body posture in such a way that it regulate and reciprocate the conversation in a very good way. Then, open posture. In an open posture, you might expect to see someone directly facing you with hands apart on the arms of the chair. An open posture can be used to communicate openness. That is the way your interest. If you are sitting like this, happily opening your hands, legs in the way, the complete freedom. That shows that you don't care about others. You are just reflecting yourself. You are just reflecting your personality and interest towards the other. If you are interested, if you are keen, you are active, then you will be posing a closed posture, listening attentive to others. You care about them. But when it comes to an open posture, you are not being applicable to others. You are just maintaining your body's interest. You are just working according to your body interest. If it wants to open freely, sit freely, no need of any rules, no need of any restrictions, you can use your open postures. Next, facial expressions. I hope you all know what are these facial expressions. The way you express your face, your emotions, your sadness, angry, keenness, you're greedy, you're jealous, all those things are appeared on your face. Facial expressions are one form of non-verbal communication. These subtle and sometimes not subtle expressions can communicate everything from pleasure or displeasure, your approval or disapproval, your like or your dislike, your sadness or your happiness. All these can be projected through your facial expressions. So, be careful. Of course, you may act sometimes. We fake expressions, isn't it? We fake expressions. Though we are not happy, we try to look happy. Though we are not interested, we try to look as if we are interested in your talk. Those are fake expressions. Okay? Next. A smile can indicate approval or happiness. When you are talking with a smile, when you are greeting someone with a smile, that shows that how happy you are, how approved you are to that person. If you are not liking some person, will you wish him with a smile? No, not at all possible. You will just wish for the sake of wish. But when you really like that person, you wish with a beautiful smile and a greeting to the other person. It shows that your approval towards that person. Clear? Next, just a few examples of emotions here. I know you all have emojis in your WhatsApps. Every day you come across these facial expressions. But let us see some of them here. Happiness here. Then sadness, anger, surprise, disgust, fear, confusion, excitement, desire, content. See how many expressions are here. Here, the girl is very happy, excited, naughty, smiling, crying, isn't it? And lovely, tensious, stress, everything. All kind of expressions are noted here, isn't it? So, even knowingly or unknowingly, consciously and unconsciously, we all represent these emotions. So try to have control over your emotions, because wrong time, wrong place, wrong emotion, wrong expression will lead you into danger. So you should have that confidence and zeal to understand the difference between the verbal and the non-verbal communication, and where to use non-verbal communication and how to use verbal communication. Now we will try to sort out the differences between the verbal and the non-verbal communication. Till now we tried to understand what is verbal communication and what is non-verbal communication. Now for a few minutes we will try to understand the differences between the verbal and the non-verbal communication. Let us sort them off now. Verbal communication, non-verbal communication. Now, in the verbal communication, the medium of communication is usage of languages, words, sentences, and the voice, the tone. This is the medium of communication in the verbal. Then when it comes to non-verbal, facial expressions, body language, expressions, tone, pauses in speech as a medium of communication. Then what are the channels of communication when it comes to verbal and non-verbal? When it comes to verbal, single channel communication, that is human voice, our speech is the channel. When it comes to non-verbal, we have multiple channels including entire body, facial expressions, and the tone of the voice can also be part of your non-verbal communication. Then comes some examples. What are the examples of verbal communication? Takes place over phones. It can take place face to face, over loudspeakers, through audio recordings, and so on. All these means can be examples of your verbal communication. Now, what are the examples of your non-verbal? Occur when all parties in the conversation can see each other. This helps them properly. That means when you are in a party and you are unable to give a speech or talk, you can use your gestures to make the other person understand what you are feeling. There is a large crowd, you cannot go directly and communicate. You can use your expressions, your gestures to communicate that person in the way you want them to understand. Then, what is the mode of communication in terms of verbal and non-verbal? Mode of communication is linear and voluntary. When I want to talk to someone, I go and start the conversation. It is voluntary. No one is forcing me to do that conversation. You set out to say something, gather your thoughts, form your sentences. So, you will deliver it. That means you are interested. That is the reason you are preparing your language in such a way that it is understood to the other. That is the mode of communication. When it comes to non-verbal, it is continuous process. Every time we do some or the other posture, gesture, facial expression, it is continuous. It is voluntary as well as involuntary. It can be done consciously and it can be done unconsciously too. Next, consciousness in communication. How consciousness you project in your verbal communication is, it is conscious. You know what you are talking. Unless you are in angry mood, sometimes it slips your mouth, but still you are conscious about what you are talking. But non-verbal happens at an unconscious level. Unknowingly, without knowingly, your body will project some postures which will show or which will indicate your mood to the other person. Then comes decoding the communication. What is the decoding the communication in verbal form and non-verbal form? Verbal form, fairly easy to decode because you are talking to them with the voice down. It is very, very easy to decode. But when it comes to non-verbal, it is little harder. You must be able to understand other person's behavior, posture, facial expression. So that is a bit tougher. But when it comes to verbal, it is a bit easier. Now, to effectively communicate with another person, it is very, very crucial to master over both verbal and non-verbal. By reading about communication techniques, practicing how to speak and listen to other people. Likewise, You can master non-verbal communication by making appropriate facial gestures, by making good tone, maintaining good tone, facial expressions, and just being interactive toward other person, making right postures at right place is very, very important. So, therefore, it is very, very important that oral communication you have to master over the spoken language, and the written non-oral you have to master over the sign language as well as the written language. Non-verbal communication, you will be having all the emotion of laughing, crying, coughing, and the body gestures. So, these are all the means which are very, very important. Now, let us see what are the verbal communication skills which may have some tactful impact on you all. That is, you must be very careful that you avoid the distractions when you do the verbal communication. Do not interrupt the speaker such that you understand him well. Be clear while speaking. Maintain eye contact, listen carefully. These are the 5 important assets, elements, characteristics which you have to learn to maintain while you are doing the verbal communication. Then focus on the non-verbal communication clues. Be confident, be open-minded, be a soft-spoken person and represent the information in short. That is, these are the qualities which you all have to equip within yourself while you are doing the verbal communication skills. Now, how to improve your non-verbal communication skills? Maintain that eye contact, nod your head to convey your approval or disapproval. That is, you agree or not. Smile and show interest. Lean forward to show speaker your interest. Use tone of voice that matches your message. So, see that you use your body effectively while delivering your speech. Both verbal and non-verbal communication plays very, very vital role in the way of making your communication effective. So, make use of it, practice and get successful in attaining the effective communication skills. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.